crafters! Welcome to this week's TuTu. It's Amanda here. So it's crazy to believe that it's actually October. We're like fully into fall. Does not feel like fall weather here quite yet, but you know, I've got up some of my decorations from last week's TuTu, so that's definitely helping me get in the fall spirit. So fall is one of my favorite times of year. I love fall. And you may not like fall, but you may like some new shows and things that come out in fall. I feel like fall is when a lot of you have like a lot of good movies, like Disney usually releases something around Thanksgiving, and then there's always like new TV shows starting up with the school year. So over the summer when my cousins were in town, which if you want to hear the full story on that, click that card up there. But anyways, when they were in town, we spent a lot of time watching TV shows, and they introduced us to Riverdale. And so, you know, I had a blast watching the show with my cousins, and while Riverdale wasn't really like my kind of a show, it's definitely filled with lots of unforgettable characters. Whether you love them or you hate them, you can't forget them. And I think it's so cool the way it's like built off the comics, because some of their traits and their, clothing styles carry over into the show. One of my cousin's favorite characters is the lovable Jughead. And what is his signature look, both in the TV series and in the comics? And yes, that is his funky little hat with the points on it. So the hat, it's kind of like a beanie, but it has these like points on it that look kind of like a crown. And when I was going to film this video, I actually did a little bit of like Googling, and I found an article by 17.com where they actually kind of explain some of the history behind the hat, which is actually kind of cool. It's called a whoopee cap. And basically in the 1940s when the comics came out, this was a popular hat style because factory workers would basically cut up their hats so they could see, from what I understand from the article, and then they'd pass the hats along to their sons. So anyways, that's kind of the story behind Jughead's funky looking hat. Anyways, today we're not going to be making a full-on Jughead hat, but we are going to be making a headband that's kind of in that same kind of style that's been inspired by his hat. So here's a sneak peek at what we're making today. You can wear this lots of different ways. I like it because you don't have to go with like a full-on hat and have it covering your hair and everything. You can style it more like a headband, but it also very much still looks like his hat and has that signature look, so people probably still be able to recognize that, wait, is that like Jughead's hat? So this is what we're making today. It does employ some Tunisian crochet techniques, so if you crochet, then I would definitely recommend you try to pick up Tunisian crochet. Lots of fun. And even if you don't crochet, Tunisian crochet can be mastered, and I know you can get the hang of it. I've got some tutorials. I'll link those up there again. But for those of you who already are familiar with Tunisian crochet, let's jump into the tutorial to make your very own Jughead inspired headband. So today for this project, I'm using a size H crochet hook, and because we're using the entrelac technique, you don't need to actually get a Tunisian hook. You can use a normal short crochet hook. The yarn I'm going to be using is Vanna's Choice, and I'm not sure on the color of this. It's obviously a gray color, but I'll try to find out what color this is, and I'll put it in the description down below. Now this project does assume that you already know how to work entrelac Tunisian crochet. So if you hear me saying that and you're like, I don't know how to do that, then go ahead and click that card right up there. In my opinion, it's actually one of the easiest Tunisian patterns to get into. And again, if you're not familiar with Tunisian crochet, if you already know how to crochet, then Tunisian crochet is really easy to pick up. And again, I'll put some cards up there so you can go find out how to make it if you don't know how to do these things I'm talking about. However, because I already have some videos showing those steps, I didn't want to spend time in this video teaching through all those things, so this tutorial is going to be based on the assumption that you already know how to work Tunisian entrelac crochet. So as you can see here, I have already worked the first row of a Tunisian entrelac pattern. And when I made my blocks, they are each 5 stitches wide by 5 rows across. And when I count them, I'm counting this side edge here as a stitch, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I chose to do this with the Tunisian simple stitch, but you could easily do this in a purl stitch or a knit stitch. I think a knit stitch would be really cool. It would just help give it more of that knit retro kind of look to the headband. But I just went with the simple stitch, and I'm happy with how it ends up looking. So again, I did 6 stitches across and 6 rows high, and that 6th row is the finishing row. So what I did was, because my head's kind of small and just because of the size of yarn and hook that I'm using, I did 8 of these blocks and I came to the end. If your head is not really small like mine is, you will probably want to do more. However, what is nice is the entrelac does have a good bit of stretch despite being so dense. So you do have a little bit of play with it. If you're not sure how many blocks to do, start working some blocks, hold it around your head, and see if you think it's gonna work. But I am using 8 blocks for this pattern. So if we look at where I'm at, I just finished that 6th row where I worked the slip stitch across to get to the end of my chain. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this last slip stitch. So I'm going to pull that out through there and put this loop back on my hook. So normally what I would do to finish this block and to finish this row is I would insert my hook through here, yarn over, and pull through everything. However, what I need to do now is I need to join it to the other end of this entrelac. So to do this, I'm going to spread this out, and then I'm going to kind of fold it in half. The trick here is you want to make sure you don't have any twist in it. So I'm going to put it so that way all of the simple stitch, the front side of that is face to face. So simple stitch front side, simple stitch front side, put those together. And I'm just kind of lining up my blocks to make sure that I don't have any twist in this project. I'm actually going to flip this over this way, so that way the side I'm working on is on the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, so I'm going to insert my hook through this end chain like I normally would, and then to join it to the other end, I'm going to also insert my hook through this very bottom corner. So you might not be sure quite where in the corner to come. The thing with coming in the corner is it's not huge if you're off one way or the other. It's obviously best to get the very corner, but if you're off to one side or the other, then the key to fixing that is to just be consistent throughout your work. So I'm gonna find the corner, this piece right here, and I'm going to insert my hook through that. So you can see the order the loops are on my hook. This is the top of that last stitch, this is the very last chain from starting, and this is that stitch right there in the corner. And once I've got all those 3 loops on my hook, I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that is going to join them together. So now I'm going to have this big loop here. So next I'm going to kind of inside this out so that way the simple stitch pattern is facing towards me. So just like this. And I need to get to a corner. So I'm going to slip stitch along the side until I'm up in the corner. So I'm going to do a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slip stitches. And once I find myself in this corner, it's kind of like I'm at the corner of an entrelac block and like I'm going to work a block in this space here. But we're going to work on making the flat side of this, so we're going to work a triangle that's going to use some decreases. So I will walk you through that process, and if you already know how to do entrelac, this is going to be a piece of cake to get the hang of. So I'm going to start working a row of simple stitches across, except I'm not going to come under these bars here. I'm going to come in the top of these stitches here. So I'm just going to insert in the top there, yarn over and pull up a loop, go to the next one, insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and I'm going to get 6 loops on my hook. So now I have 6 loops on my hook. Now I want to come in the 7th one, insert my hook, and I'm going to pull it through 2. And that's again pretty similar to how you would work a normal block here. And I'm going to keep working across, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and do that until I'm left with 3 loops on my hook. And now to create this flat edge, when I get down to just 3 loops on my hook, I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And then I'm going to work my next row. So I'm not going to come in right here or this one right there. I'm going to come to this spot right here, come underneath, pull up a loop, come to the next one, pull up a loop, come to the next one, pull up a loop, and come to this last spot and pull up a loop. So I'm going to work across and pull up loops until I have 5 on my hook. And then that means it's time to insert in the side of this next block. So I'm just going to find the next stitch up and insert my hook through there. And I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull it through this side block and through this first loop on my hook. And then I'm going to repeat the yarn over, pull through 2 pattern until I'm left with just 3 loops on my hook. And whenever I get down to just those 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 of them. So next row, we're going to keep working this pattern the same way. You can already see it starting to work this flatter side here. So don't come in there, don't come in there, come in kind of like that 3rd post if you want to think of it like that. And this time, I'm only going to pull up 4 loops. So once I've got 4 on the hook, I'm going to work in the side here. So when I come in the side, I'm going to yarn over, pull it through the side, and pull it through that 1st loop. And then yarn over, pull through 2. Well, now we're just left with 3 on the hook, so pull through all 3. Do this again. Gonna pull up a loop here, pull up a loop here. This time I'm only gonna end up with 3 loops on my hook, and then that's gonna tell me to go in the side again. Insert my hook through the side, yarn over, pull through the side block and that 1st one. And look, there we go, I've got 3 loops left on my hook, so pull through all 3. And this time we're going to do this where we only pull up 1 more loop, so now we have 2 loops on the hook. We're going to insert through here, and we're going to pull it through everything on our hook. And now we've finished filling in this triangle, so we just need to work a slip stitch in our next spot to get to the next corner. So work a slip stitch right there. And now we're going to repeat that same exact process. I'll show you again. So again, with this 1st row, we pull up 5 additional loops to end up with 6 on our hook. And remember, we're not working through these loops there. We're not working through that post. We're going to work through the top loops of the block. So insert the hook, pull up a loop, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once we have 6 loops on our hook, we're going to insert in the 1st stitch on the side of this next block, yarn over and pull through the side block and the 1st loop on the hook. And then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're left with just 3 on the hook, so that tells us to yarn over and pull through everything. And then this time we're going to pull up 4 loops. So don't come in either of these 1st posts, come in this 3rd one right here. Insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook, pull up a loop. So this time we're only going to get 5 on our hook. And then once we have 5, that tells us to go in the side of our next block, yarn over, pull through the side of the block and that 1st loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops until we're left with just 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then our next row. So this time, the last row, we picked up 4 more loops. This time we're only going to pick up 3 more loops. So basically each time we're decreasing on this right side. Okay, once we've pulled up our 3 additional loops for a total of 4, we're going to work in the side of the next block. So insert our hook, yarn over, pull through that side block and the 1st loop there. Then yarn over, pull through 2, and we're already left with just 3 on our hook. So yarn over, pull through all 3. And we've just got a couple more rows to do to finish this off. This time we're only pulling up 2 additional loops. So 1 and 2. Now it's time to work on the side of our block. And then we're going to pull it through the side block and that 1st loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3. And then for this last one, we're going to pull up 1 loop, work in the side of the block, and pull through everything on our hook. And so that finishes up this one. So the last thing we need to do to fasten this side of the corner down is to work a slip stitch in this next spot in the side block. So here you can see it's starting to form. We're getting the flat side with the crown that has these little points all along it. Now I'm going to keep working this around and then I'll show you something on the last block. Alright, here I am at my very last block. I've come all the way around so far. And I'm on my very last block and I started working on this last triangle and I've pulled up the first 4 of the first 5 stitches I pull up. But there's a couple things I want to talk about because it'd be really easy to make a little mistake here and then end up with a really wonky looking headband. So the first thing we want to be aware of is make sure that there aren't any twists in the headband. A really easy check is to first of all look if you have the simple stitch side face up on both sides. If we look here, we have the simple stitch side up here, but not on this side. That lets us know that, oh, there's a twist. So if we look down here, we can see that we've got to work this twist back out. And just because you do see both sides with simple side up, it could actually be twisted twice. So definitely check and make sure that the headband itself isn't twisted, because if it's twisted, it obviously is not going to be good. So once I've got it untwisted, I'm just gonna kind of reorient myself that, okay, here's where I'm working. And I just want to mention a couple things because we're going to be working kind of where we did the slip stitch, and we did a bunch of slip stitches going up the side, so it can just be a little weird looking. So I'm just going to walk you through this last triangle. So I've pulled out my first 4, the first 5 loops I pull up. So this 5th one is going to come in right down here. Okay, so now I've got 6 loops on the hook. The trick to figuring out where to next insert your hook is to insert it under the next available V. That shows you that it's the top of a chain. So I'm going to insert my hook right under this one here. And then once I insert my hook, I'm going to yarn over, pull it through that, and pull it through the first loop on my hook. And then we're going to finish this row off just the same way we do, where we pull through 2 until we get to the last 3, and then we pull through all 3 of those. So again, I'll show you on this next row. So pull up our first 4 for this row. And then when we pull up that 5th one that's going to be in the side, look for that slip stitch. We're actually going to be working underneath that slip stitch right there. And it's best to work under the slip stitch if you're able, because it just kind of hides the slip stitch and blends everything together really well. So then again, I'm going to pull through the side, that slip stitch there, and pull through the first loop, and then repeat the pattern to get to the end where I pull through 2, and then the very last time pull through 3. So here we are, we're getting to this last row here. Come under there. Turn over and pull through all 3. And the very last thing we want to do is do one more slip stitch in the next spot. Pull through, and then yarn over, pull through again, pull this tight, pull this loop through, cut the loop, pull the tail out through and snug this up really nice. And then our headband is done, except for needing to weave in these tail ends. And here is the finished look once we weave in the ends. What's also fun about this is you can leave it with the simple stitch side out. You could instead choose to do something like a knit stitch, or you can flip it so that way the back side is out, whatever look you are going for. But now you have a Jughead's hat inspired headband. And there you have it. Now you can work on making your very own headband inspired by Jughead's hat just in time for the season's premiere. So you've only got 8 more days until the first episode comes out, so get to work on this project before the season comes out. I think this pattern is kind of cool because it has a like retro vibe to it, but retro is like always, you know, in style. So it's kind of like retro but also trendy. So I don't know, it's just kind of fun. Let me know in the comments below if you like the way this turns out and if you think it's a cool fandom project or not. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Also make sure that you don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video, and that if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, that you will click the red subscribe button and the little bell down below. I post new tutorials every single Tuesday, and then I usually post another video or 2 throughout the week with some other crafting projects that I'm working on. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Happy crafting! Alright, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. I've got like my nice top on, I've got earrings, a necklace, and I'm wearing pajama pants. I'm wearing, this is kind of plaid, you probably can't really see it, and this is plaid. I'm wearing plaid on plaid because you know what? You don't know that I'm wearing pajama pants unless I tell you, which I just did, so it's kind of not a secret anymore, but you know.